welcome back to another episode of the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show, the show where we talk about all the crazy stupid stuff that people do in marketing and how you can not do crazy stupid things, but instead do smart, meaningful, awesome things. Because let's be honest, if we're going to spend time doing stuff, it might as well be meaningful stuff. Alas, there's still somewhat of a pandemic of crazy stupid that happens in the marketing industry, and I am joined by a phenomenal panel of the next generation of marketers. I'm like so excited because usually I'm not the oldest person by far on a panel, and I am the oldest person by far on this panel today. So what we have here is a group of awesome young marketers who are going to share with us how to not do crazy stupid stuff. Some of that is learned through their own experience. I mean, as marketers, I feel like at some point we've all done something that would fall into the crazy stupid arena. To confirm, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, we do have specific definitions of crazy and stupid that we use on the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show. Crazy being things you do over and over again, expecting a different result, aka the definition of insanity. Stupid being the things that you do just because someone told you that you should, but you don't really know why you should. You're just doing them. So those are the crazy stupid things that happen a lot in marketing. And those are the types of things that we're going to be talking about as part of this episode today. And more importantly, how we can, as the next generation of marketers, not bring crazy stupid with us, but hopefully leave crazy stupid behind in the past and bring as much smart, meaningful marketing to the world as possible. So for those of you who are new to the show, I also want to remind you that there is this nifty difty comments section of the live where you are watching. And this, well, I mean, we're going to have lots of conversation between all of the voices on the panel today, but also this is a conversation for everybody. And so especially if you are a young marketer and you have experienced something in that crazy, stupid arena and you're hoping not to continue doing that, we would love to hear that in the chat. If you're an experienced marketer and you have wonderful advice that you would like to share with the next generation, we would love to hear that too. If you are not a marketer and you just have questions for marketers in general, we would also love to hear that. So all of your voices make the conversation more robust. And if you are watching us live today, we would love to hear them in the comments section. With that, let's take a few quick moments to learn a little bit more about our lovely panelists for today, because this is the next generation of marketers, folks. Are you looking at it? It looks fantastic to me. So let's learn a little bit more about them before we hop into the conversation. So I'm just going to go starting at the top clockwise, because that's how we do it in the world still. Trista, would you like to kick us off?
Yes, thanks, Tracy, for having me back. My name is Trista. I can give you my little professional background, I guess. I'm the owner of For the Love of Marketing. Been around for about 6 years now, so I've been a business owner since I was 17, like through and through entrepreneur person, and a passionate marketer. I do marketing with real estate agents. Our team won the Canadian Choice Award this year as recognized as one of the best marketing agencies in the country. So shout out to my really awesome team. I have a background in business from Trent University, as well as digital strategy from Harvard Business School Online. But ultimately, I'm just like a big bookworm. And I'm a big sister. And those are like two things that I think really make me, other than like my job. If you give me a good romance novel, I will sit on my couch all day and like devour the whole book. But yeah, that's a bit about me.
Also ties into your brand name, For the Love of Marketing, romance novels. I like that. I see what you did there, Trista. Welcome back to the show, my friend. Always glad to have you. And now we have a whole bunch of people who are new to being the panel on Crazy Stupid Marketing. So Manu, would you like to continue the intros?
Absolutely. Thank you so much again for having me on. So a little bit of background around me is my name is Emmanuel, or a lot of people call me Mano. It's just more fun to say. And typically I just, like to keep things fun and light. I'm a content creator, a full stack marketer, and currently the head of marketing at a high growth tech startup called OneClick. And essentially I've been doing this for, I think, around 9 years now, which is crazy. I started my own business when I was 14 years old, selling ebooks online. And that's kind of how I got into the old entrepreneurship grind of everything. And that's basically how I learned how to market from the start, just, from YouTube, YouTube University, as they like to say. And through my journey, that brought me to where I am today, doing everything that I do. And I'm so, so, so glad to be part of this amazing panel and to get to talk to everyone today about kind of what the next generation of marketing looks like.
Awesome. I'm excited to have your energy as part of this panel today, Mano. Always glad to have your energy in any kind of conversation. All right, Anonzo.
Hi everyone, my name is Noso Namdi. I am a marketing strategist and content lead. I currently work with Habit, a full service marketing agency out of Edmonton and also Calgary, but basically we're serving markets around Canada as well. For me, I've always been passionate about marketing. One of the biggest things for me is I'm a culture guy. I'd like to know why people do things. I am like human behavior. What is that thing that is influencing behavior? Why are people acting in certain ways? I want to go for the rave. I want to go for the football matches. Anywhere there are people acting crazy, I just want to be there. And that is kind of the thing that have led me into marketing, because at the end of the day, it's all about connecting with people. And I'm also very passionate about seeing how people build things. So in terms of like founders building stuff is always really fascinating. Why did you get into that? I want to know the story and I want to help you tell it as well. And that's why I've been here for this long. If not, I would have left long ago, because I just love it here. And I'm so happy to be here to learn from everyone. And I can't wait to get into the conversation we're going to have today.
Oh, so excited. And Nato and I were recently at the Startup Canada conference together, which was one of those events that had all of the explosive energy, which is fun. And if you haven't checked out the content that he created from that, then follow him on LinkedIn and you will see it. And you might see me as well, just saying. And last but not least, Amber.
Hi everyone, my name is Amber. I hear the two keywords: passionate marketer and the full stack marketer. That's me as well. So I'm a digital strategist and performance marketer. I'll help right now. Like currently, I'm helping e-commerce business to, especially DTC funders, to build their business from full stack, everything. Mainly SEO, paid ads, and conversion-focused growth strategy.
Oh, I'm so excited because this panel is also so robust in the areas that are available in marketing. And this is a place I'd love to start the conversation because, I mean, when I was in business school, which is a long time ago now, it seemed like marketing was very compact. It was like, this is what we're selling you as marketing, and it's this like tight little bundle. But I've seen, as I've been in the industry for longer and longer, that really the marketing tendrils seem to touch a lot more areas than what maybe historically would have been considered marketing. So let's keep tech out of that to begin with, because I'm sure we're going to have a whole tech side of this conversation, including AI. But for you guys, like, how have you seen that even evolve in your careers so far in terms of what marketing is responsible for and where that lives within an organization? Anybody want to go first?
Ooh, okay. I'll take the floor. Because I've some ideas, mind stream coming in right now. But I would say that I think the foundation of marketing is building trust with your audience. And when you look at it from an organizational standpoint of how an organization is run, right, there's usually a sales-led motion, right? Sales team is doing all of the outreach. They're trying to get more cold leads into the funnel, versus marketing is trying to make, I guess, people warm leads, right? So they trust the content, they trust whatever you're doing, and then they end up converting as a result of that. And so I think that as a marketer or as a marketing team, your entire job is to build a trust with the audience, so then it makes the rest of the team's jobs easier at converting them into paid clientele.
And Krista, I'd love specifically to hear like your frame on that, because you do a lot of work with realtors, and realtors tend to do a lot of the like sales component of that. But then what you guys do is the marketing support. So tell us more about that.
I love that you use the word trust, because the way we represent trust today has evolved, right? It's changed, and what we like take as information, we kind of digest it differently. And the form of like social media having trust, it allows you to form that rapport, but in the same vein, anyone has access to a social media. So that trust element is there, but also isn't there. Whereas with the traditional mediums, the barriers to access to actually, get an ad somewhere, the costs that are associated, they're a lot higher. Therefore, they have that more presence of trust. What I've seen kind of evolve a lot is print and radio. Like when we were starting out, print and radio kind of emphasis as a way of, not as many options. I know we'll get into obviously like the tech side, but dealing with just kind of what you have access to. And it's crazy now how anyone can have access to anything nowadays. So marketing has become more of a big term, like those tendrils you were talking about. Whereas before they would kind of think of it as very like singular. You do your brochure, you run your newspaper ad, you create a pretty little picture for it. There's your marketing output. There you go. You do it once a week, hands off. So it's changed, right? It's on demand now. You have to kind of always be tapped in, and you really have to think about your consumer now. When you used to go to like buy a car, like in the 1980s, and you're like, I'm gonna go get like a little wagon or something, and you're talking to like your salesperson, Mike. Mike had like all of the power in that situation, right? He knew all the stuff about cars. You couldn't easily research his competitors, research the cars he was talking about. You just kind of like believed Mike. But now we have the ability to like research people, find out about their audience, figure out about them. And all of that is like marketing. Those are all marketing touch points, which I think is like super cool. So yeah, Mike no longer holds the power. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, and just feeding off what Trista has said, I always have this conversation with my older marketing friends, and I tell them, marketing is way harder now than it was before. And they're like, no, it's way easier now. You have a lot of channels. And I'm like, at the end of the day, you're trying to compete for attention, right? You're trying to get people's attention. You're trying to draw them in and keep them, in as long as possible. And even though that is really hard these days. And you see how marketing has evolved from, just what Trista said. Before, you just had several channels, like just traditional marketing. It's either you're watching the TV, you're listening to the radio, you're looking at the newspaper or some magazine. And that is where people get their entertainment from. And marketers always chase where people go to. So it's easy to say, hey, I have this ad, it's played several times and people catch on to it. That's when we had like ads that resonate with people, because you see people singing jingles over and over again because they've heard it over and over again. There's this exposure to ads that you've had. But right now, you don't have that luxury anymore. Everybody's competing for this attention. Everybody want to get through to the same person you're trying to get to for different kind of reasons. And you see, just in competing for attention, you get to understand how marketing has kind of evolved from what it is before up until where we are right now, where we have like several channels. There are several ways to reach people, several ways people get their entertainment. There are several communities. And, before you could be talking to everybody and hope that your audience find you. But right now you have to find your audience. You don't have the luxury to talk to anybody because you'll just be wasting your time, your resources, and your effort as well. So yeah, marketing, I believe, is kind of way harder right now because of the kind of creativity you need to put into getting people's attention, unlike before where you just slap something and then hope it sticks.
Well, and I think it's interesting because I feel like referencing newspaper, for example, right? Like the newspaper would have the trust, right? So that the trust came with the channel, whereas like to kind of speak to what Tristan mentioned, now it's social media, and social media is like, how trustworthy is this on any given day? Who owns this today? What are they doing with it? And I think it's been interesting to watch that. Like really now, instead of saying I'm investing in my marketing, going with a trustworthy brand, now I have to create that trustworthy brand. So Amber, I'd love to hear your thoughts on kind of that.
Yes, that's correct. You mentioned the social media because we are working with a lot of e-commerce brands. Like the trust for e-commerce brands is like working with a lot of influencers and the UGC content creators. They are creating telling people, hey, this is fancy product, like how it's affordable and good for a certain like the product benefit. And I was like study Pop Mart Labubu, like why it's so popular nowadays. And yeah, it's just like marketing for this kind of business is more like reaching out, how to make them reaching out more people in the world and make people want to buy and building the trust.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, I mean, I think most of you know that I'm a big believer in authenticity and personal branding. Hopefully, that's not news to anybody. But I think it's really interesting because in that example, Amber, like we still are like putting the trust in someone else's hands, right? So like maybe historically we used to put it on the radio station or the newspaper or the TV channel. Now we're saying I'm going to take that trust and put it into some other influencer's hands. It's something that is always very curious to me because I'm like, well, you could hold that yourself in your like own trust building hands, but we still have this like tendency to outsource the trust and say someone else is more trustworthy than us. And I wonder how that impacts our ability to build relationships.
I think it's because if you are telling the story like, hey, this is like awesome for you, people think that's over marketing or something. But if you are giving the product to influencer or give them a chance to other people, we are like all the customer just like hearing different voice from the creators. So that's how the chats come from.
I think just to also add to that, right? Coming from a public relations background, because that's where I like transitioned into, strategy from. One of the golden rule of, doing anything in public relations is to be able to sell something to people without them knowing that you're selling something to them, because it's not your normal placing an ad, buying an ad here where people know that, oh, I'm about to be sold to, and they leave and they come back. You're kind of subtly putting it into like the news. Just imagine that a reporter reports about your brand, about something you're doing. You're like, oh, this is actually newsworthy. And these guys, for them to be here, they are really credible as well. And I think that is the same idea that we've kind of, transitioned into, this age of marketing with influencers, for example, when it comes to influencer marketing. Even though I see that something we actually need to grow from is like where we treat influencers like we're buying ads, because that's what it is. Like, okay, I want to see your rates card. I want you to do 3 posts. I want you to do 4 posts. And then it still feels like you're selling. Whereas I feel like that whole trust transitioning from traditional medium, the way we, for example, public relations to using influencers should also come very naturally as well. So it should be a thing like there's like this co-collaboration between you and whoever is building stuff, because at the end of the day, you are chasing their community, you're chasing their audience. You want to be able to be seen by the people that follow this kind of people, but you want it to do it in a way that is very authentic as well. So there is still a place of outsourcing trust. Even in this age where we are currently, there's still an age of outsourcing trust, even though you can work over time to build that trust and own that platform. But sometimes you might not have you need to sell, you need to sell stuff. So there's a place of outsourcing trust in this age, but it has to be done in a way where it feels very natural and not like you're buying an ad.
Yeah, Tristan, I saw your hand go up, and like also what I'm thinking is like for realtors, right? Or like, because I think there is a difference here too on like if I'm selling a product, right? And somebody using a product is more trustworthy than the product creator being like, this product is awesome for you, you should buy it. From a service providing point of view, like at the end of the day, from a sales perspective, if you don't trust that service provider, you're not going to choose them. So like how does that play out in that scenario? Where does that balance come in? Or take it wherever you want to go.
Yeah. I love the idea of like brand endorsements. They've been around forever, right? Like the celebrity, holding a shoe. And I think kind of the modern manifestation of that is actually really, really cool. And you're totally right. When you're talking about a product and like a person or a service, they're like 2 totally different ball games. Like getting someone to trust you enough with the biggest life transaction and investments. Sometimes people are going through like divorces, they're going through pregnancy, maybe they're having a baby, maybe they're having their in-laws move in. Like that's a huge amount of trust. And the real estate industry is notorious for lacking trust in their realtors. So how do we combat this, shared knowledge that, people think realtors might be icky? There's a lack of kind of transparency that isn't there. Those are kind of like the pillars that are at play when you're marketing someone like that, or even, yourself, depending on whatever industry you're in as marketers, right? There's a lot of people, and I get DMs every day from other marketers being like, hey, do this. So we have that own challenge ourselves. But the thing that I find really cool with, like, if you want to call it like UGC content for realtors, I think shines, like, rears its head in the form of like testimonials. So we've seen realtors bringing in their past clients more to talk about their experience, someone who's real, to vouch for them, and a way putting, once again, that idea of like the trust in their hands, but also is so closely linked to the person and the brand themselves. So it's not like, hey, I'm the best option, I'm the best choice. It's also like, hey, I am, and here's why. Here's a story. Which is a classic, marketing and sales. People love stories. Stories is how we've communicated for years, right? And pass everything down. But yeah, I'm not sure if that helps at all, but that's kind of my hot take on it.
No, I think this is awesome because it also, maybe I'm jaded. I'm like the old jaded marketer in this conversation today, because I also think there's things that can be done authentically, and then there's things that can be done salesy, including testimonials, right? So I'm sure all of us have seen on LinkedIn or whatever, like, oh, I'm just sharing this testimonial. And you're like, are you, or was that part of your strategy to like collect testimonials? Because I've seen so many testimonials that don't really speak to anything meaningful from a brand point of view. It's just like, I've collected this, or I have X many 5-star ratings. And then I'm also like, I happen to drive a Mercedes, and every time I go in there, they're like, please go on and do our survey and give us 5 stars. Like, one, if you don't know me, I will give you 5 stars if you've earned 5 stars. I will not just give you 5. I did not give away 5-star ratings. But like, there's a lot of people who don't care that much and will just like give away 5-star ratings, or people who get a $5 gift card to give you a 5-star rating, right? So again, like, this plays into the, do we trust testimonials as much as we used to trust testimonials? Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to throw this at Mano because it's your turn to speak, my friend. Who do we trust the testimonial from? And how does that play into like just a testimonial versus the quote unquote meaningful testimonial?
So I would say, honestly, first of all, I love this conversation because I wholeheartedly believe that content marketing is the most powerful form of marketing. As they say, right, a visual is worth 1,000 words, or a picture is worth 1,000 words. A video is worth 10,000 or more, right, depending on the context of the video length. And so as a visual learner myself and someone who's built my businesses off of content, just seeing like the empirical data of what I've actually seen in terms of like, say, testimonials, UGC, and building that authority, it's all about the authenticity. Like, it all comes back to the authenticity, because the thing people don't understand about content and what they put out there is that people aren't dumb, and people can see if something is inauthentic or not, right? And it just shows in the performance of the content itself and the performance of what the goal of it, right? And so in terms of testimonials, I think there's a balance. I've seen a few different ways that they've been done that have been really successful. Like, for example, there's a huge brand called ClickUp, and their content marketing strategy is absolutely phenomenal. It's probably one of the best in the world. They've executed perfectly, almost perfectly in whatever they've done in terms of their user testimonials, right? The way they display them on their websites, the way that they incorporate the information and different trust factors to bridge the gap between any objection that people have, right? And they do it in a non-salesy way, so people feel like it's authentic. And it all boils down, it's not just, I feel like it's different from just having like posting a testimonial, right? Because sure, we can all just post a testimonial and like call it a day, but it's all about having an ecosystem of content that supports each other to then make that testimonial authentic. And so when we look at it from a more high level view, if you look at the way ClickUp does it, they have an ecosystem of different content coming around from everywhere, from their social medias, from their newsletters, like email marketing, YouTube, like everywhere pretty much, that all validates what those testimonials are talking about. So when someone wants to do their own research, as Trista was mentioning before, right, they can go and they can research the competitors and all that jazz. they have all of that proof that backs them up, because not only do they have that social proof from their existing users, but they have the corresponding content that builds that trust. So if they do see those testimonials, they can easily validate that those testimonials are real because they see all those artifacts. And so I think it's just all about positioning, or it's not even just positioning, it's the way that you execute on what the strategy is with the social proof. Like, you have to make sure it's actually, not scamming, because people can tell when it is.
Yeah. I think maybe because I was studying a spider's web yesterday, this is why it's making me think of this, is like, when you look at a spider's web, it's like very intentional, right? All the pieces of it are connected and it has a purpose for existing. Everybody, and especially the spider, I think, knows what its purpose is, right? And it meaningfully spins that web to do a job. And I think a lot of times, especially because there seems, like you mentioned in your intro, Nonso, is like there's so many things, right? There's so many platforms, there's so many tactics, that a lot of times we can get stuck with like spinning a single like thread, but that thread is not connected to anything else. So it kind of just like floats away with the wind. And so to speak to, like, let's speak about what Mano was saying here. Like, really, this is about creating a web of things that are connected to your authenticity, being one that we mentioned, but also like a business goal. And yes, we can talk about things like SEO, and SEO is not bad, but SEO without a goal is just like, Amber, I don't know if you want to speak to that, because I'm sure that comes up in your industry often.
Yes, that's correct. Like, I thought I will share some of the like stupid things that we will create it like later. But yes, because I heard many people say we should create more content, but if that's not within the web, then like it's just like messing up on everywhere because they're like non-related.
Right. Well, and Nonso too, you do a lot of content creation. So like, where is the balance that you find on the strategy side between like the frequency and the consistency of content, and dare we say the volume of content, versus how it's contributing to the ecosystem of why it exists in the first place?
And again, I think, we're doing a lot of things, as you said, mainly because, people have done them. People have like this whole SEO playbook where it's like, okay, first of all, you have to make sure that you have content, you have to build backlinks, you have to stuff in keywords. There are a lot of things that people just throw around. And we know that the way people consume content constantly changes, especially with the kind of technology that, we have available right now. So for me, anytime I'm thinking about content, basically strategy from the beginning, I'm always thinking about it with regards to how do the people who are trying to talk to consume content. Like, where do they go to look for information? Where do they go to look for entertainment? Whatever it is that is going to put our brand or our product in front of them. And we're not just thinking about it as a volume game. It's more like, where does that sit in their journey? Another thing I know that everybody have like this whole funnel where they do at the beginning, where it's like, okay, awareness, people see your brand for the first time. For me, SEO has always come to play more in the consideration stage. You must have first seen my brand somewhere. And then when you're looking for more information, I want to be able to show you that, hey, you can, there are more things you can find about me. There are more things you can read about me. But I would not use SEO for me as that first point of contact where people see my brand, even though that can be very, very effective, because people go looking for a particular kind of service and then they see your brand just pops up. It kind of gives it that authenticity and they want to learn more. But I feel like, because of how people consume content and how they search, they are very intentional. So there's that intent you have to be thinking about. So you have to think about it in that sense. So for me, anytime I'm building like a content strategy for clients, or basically just doing the whole marketing strategy generally, when I'm thinking about content, I'm thinking about it as resource. So people want to see they're first aware, and then they're looking for more information, and then you pop up again, they click, and then they read, and then they make a decision. So for me, it's more of you have to be intentional about where you're placing it in that whole funnel, and you have to understand how your client, your audience consume content, because we just applying it. There's a lot of things, like everywhere people have different strategies. They tell you 1 million ways to make sure your website is ranking, SEO tricks here and there, and you just keep applying, and at the end of the day, you're not working with any particular strategy. So I feel like right from the start, you have to figure out where does each content type play. Is this an awareness thing? Is it a consideration thing? Does this help them to convert? And then that will help you to kind of map out how you want to do the whole SEO strategy. But again, there are a lot of things that work. But for me, I feel like it has to come up in a place where it's really authentic and it supports, not just using clickbait to make you click and then you find something you don't like and then you're like, okay, I'm leaving this place. It's on the long run, it's kind of really messy for your brand. So for me, very intentional right from your strategy stage. What's the funnel? Where does that sit? And what's the intention of the person looking for the content? And how do they consume content as well?
May I hop in?
Yes, go for it, Trista.
I love it. Guys, this is so good. I love that we're kind of on the topic of like SEO too, and how that like plays into marketing. Because I feel like when people think marketing nowadays, they jump right to social media. But it's so nuanced. So I love that we're talking about the nuances. And since it's the Crazy Stupid Marketing Show, like, are you cool if I share like a little anecdote of something I hear all the time?
Yes, please.
So realtors, being kind of like traditional folks, spend a lot of money on like advertising. They're on every bus. They're on every.
I was going to say bus benches are still owned by realtors.
Yes, they're everywhere, and they're spending like thousands and thousands of dollars a month on this. And then you go to any form of digital media that they have, and their website is fresh out of 2008. They've made one social media post, if they have one, right? They're inconsistent at it. So if you're spending all this money on your traditional mediums and then you're putting none of it into digital, you're just stopping your leads right there. Just like you're saying, like, where is it at the funnel? But also, like, if it's your awareness, like, what else are you doing to keep the rest of that funnel healthy? Because if they can't find you when they're searching up your name, that's a problem. If they go to look for you on social media, once again, to find those cues, am I going to click with this person? Am I going to ick with them? Can I trust them? How do I reach out to them? Like, all of these signs that you're looking for to feel confident in moving forward. And if there's nothing there, they're filling in the message themselves. And when the message is nothing, you don't want them filling it in themselves. So I find it so funny that that's like this thing that people keep doing over and over again, is they just keep spending more money on ads in their community and don't pause for a second to look at, okay, like, what is going wrong? And like, what can I shift to help my physical ads, but also like my digital presence?
Well, and I think there's like such a key there of consistency. And I think a lot of times in the digital sense, consistency gets confused with frequency. And frequency is the number of times you do a thing. Consistency is how consistent those things are between the things. And so it's very possible to have a high level of frequency and a very high level of inconsistency. And I think, as most of us, even as individual experience it, the more inconsistent you experience someone, the less likely or the longer it takes for you to trust them. And so you might see a very trustworthy bench, but if you go and their profile on LinkedIn doesn't match that, you'll be like, break point. Maybe I'm not sure if I'm going to trust that. And we're living in a day and age where people are pressure testing these things in the digital arena. So I think that's just a really important takeaway for any of the next gen marketers, because we still have bus benches, we still have bus advertisements, we still have radio, we still have billboards, we still have these things, and they can work well if they are working in a cohesive web is the phrase we're using for today. But that doesn't necessarily mean that if you're not doing the other components, it won't work together. So I want to kind of bring this back to this concept of next gen and like how we can take some of these things that we know and move them forward so we can do less of the crazy, stupid stuff and more of these like connected activities. So Mano, from your perspective, what are some of the things that maybe are best left in the past? And some of the things that we can focus our conversation on moving forward to keep our next gen of marketers moving in the right direction?
So that's a great question. I think that kind of leading from our previous conversation a little bit about the SEO and all that kind of stuff, one marketing fact that I always have in the back of my mind is that anyone who is your ideal customer needs at least 7 touch points to even get into the consideration stage of buying your product. And so the more touch points you have, the better, because it builds that trust factor. And I think that trust is the most important. Trust and authenticity is what drives people over the edge. But if I were to bring up an emerging trend that I've seen actually recently come up, and obviously I'm going to bring some tech into this too, AI. AI is the
Well, at some point we were going to touch on AI because there's no future of marketing without AI.
No. And the thing about SEO, this was I was screaming this, right? Because search is changing. Fundamentally, the web of search is changing for the AI era. And we've even seen things like Google, or companies like Google, who have actually readapted the way searches are made now. And so apart from just like the AI search that you see, like the little AI summary, they've also just rolled out a AI ChatGPT like kind of version where it's an AI search, where if you click it, it actually doesn't even show you links anymore. It just takes you to a chat where basically it will show you essentially like a list of sources that it aggregates for you without the links. So it's like you're in a constant Google basically tab, kind of like ChatGPT, right? And so what we've seen is going to be happening as they've implemented this is that instead of SEO is now turning into PSO, which is prompt search optimization. And the main difference between SEO and PSO is SEO was built for ranking on the homepage or the search page, right? Making sure you get to the top, making sure that it was relevant to the user. Versus PSO is essentially the same thing, but with a twist, because PSO is based on NLP, which is natural language processing, right? And so we've seen a shift where now you have to basically optimize all your content, all that SEO content that was originally good for ranking on the search page, to now ranking on the chat interface, right? And so the reason I'm bringing this up is because in recent months we've actually seen at OneClick that we've had a significant amount of traffic come through chatbots, right? Like people asking, ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, like these large language models, essentially. And it's because through our content, we've done some NLP, like natural language processing. And you can also search up on YouTube, by the way. I am no expert in this, but I went on YouTube and all I did was search up, teach me about natural language processing, right? What do I need to know about this? And then I just integrated it into the content on our website, in our social media. By the way, oh my God, social content. I know social content is the talk of the town, but it is also rankable on the internet. And also these chatbots, these large language models, use that as a basis to determine whether to rank you or not, because they see the impressions. They are able to collect the data from your social channels, and they see how much people are interacting with your content, that kind of thing, all that jazz. And that helps them in their ranking algorithm, whether to promote you to their users that are on the chatbot or not. So 100%, if you make videos, make sure you put your transcripts on, put the caption. When you are posting a video, click generate captions, get those social platforms to generate the captions, because that is also a ranking factor when it comes to prompt search. And it's something that a lot of people are not doing right now. And it's huge, and it's going to change the entire landscape of SEO. But I'm also curious, because Amber, you are like in the weeds when it comes to SEO. So I wonder if you have a different perspective or a way of looking at this.
Well, I love your insights and thoughts, because I was like studying, because I think just last week, the Google Marketing Live, they have updated some of the AI fundamental feature and how they rank everything. And also you mentioned social media, like captions. I'm not sure if anyone aware, if you are putting the keywords on Google search, some of the TikTok video, they will pop up, and that's like search everywhere. So it's very funny. And even it's like the like how they rank the TikTok video is like you are not including the content in the caption. No, not caption, like the description, but like if you have the captions, they will rank your video in the Google search. So it's very cool.
Yeah, and I think that like Naso, I'd love to hear your perspective from a content creation point of view, because one of the things that came up in the last Authentic Marketing Fellowship Brain Trust was who are we writing content for then? Are we writing content for human consumers of our content, or are we writing content for LLMs? And I would love to hear your perspective on that.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I have a question of the LLM.
Oh, the large language models.
Okay.
So if
Got
the,
it.
yeah, if the chat GPTs and everything of the world are running off of the large language model, they have a different relationship to content than a human brain has relationship to content. And so then my brain, which is a human brain, says, at least to date, although concussed, says to me that the way they consume data, different than the way I consume data. So if I'm writing for those two different sources, then I would write that differently. And so does that look different then for like social media content versus website content? Because if we're not really assuming that our customers are going to land on our website is more for the PSO versus like maybe my personal social media content is more targeted at humans. I don't know. There's no answers to this, I don't think, but I'm not. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So for me, one thing I know that, right now we're in that age of, marketing. Right now there is vibe marketing, just as we have vibe coding where, you just let the tools do most of the things for you and you just feed it prompts and all. But I think one thing that we also need to kind of move away from, and we also kind of have to retain as well, is how we understand people, right? Because for me, that is the most important thing, especially when it comes to strategy, when it comes to building out content, particularly, it's very important that you understand people. Because what most of the technology that comes out does right now is try to understand people's behavior and then help us try to get through to these people. So it means that we're hoping that the technology understands who we want to speak to and then reach them, whereas we can be doing it the other way around. I feel like it's very, very important. We should move from the whole idea of the whole customer persona. Okay, she's 35, she likes yoga. That is really, really, at the end of the day, we feed that thing into, the technology that we do have, and then it goes off with it. But at the end of the day, is that how people really, really work? People change really fast. Behavior changes fast. There are a lot of things that are influencing behavior. There are a lot of communication. So what I believe last week, I would not believe this week because I have access to information, and that has changed my behavior as well. So for me, I feel it's very important that we're doing content for people and not just doing content for machine, but we should use the machine to understand the people. Because at the end of the day, I'm on Instagram, for example, I'm on TikTok, for example, there's this algorithm. It's trying to understand how I behave. It's trying to understand me and then use that information to maybe help you to reach me. But by tomorrow, I'm no longer interested in the things I'm interested in anymore. So I feel like there's that part of really, really doing the work into understanding, because I think that is all that is left in marketing right now. Every other thing can be automated, because once you put that prompt in, it can help you generate the content, it can help you reach the people. We can, we've seen like AI agents where it can even help you take an action of even generating the leads and even selling to them. So at the end of the day, it's just the beginning and the end that humans are actually involved in, and machine has taken over everything. So if before we even set out to start that whole conversation of let the machine do things for me, it's important that we really, really, because people are making those decisions at the end of the day, it's important that we understand them. And for me, the rule of thumb is, if you can't talk about your customer for 30 minutes without running out of things to say, then you don't know them well. Like, you have to know them that deeply. You have to join the communities. So now we're in a stage where you don't necessarily have to either chase people, you either have to attract them or maybe look for communities and join, but there have to be something that draws you people to you, or draw you to people, in a sense that you're not just, because of, they said she's 35 years and she likes yoga, and then I'm running off of that and I'm feeding my machine off of that. But I feel like there is a very huge place in understanding people and then using machine to understand people and then, go back to making those contents in a way that, makes sense to you and makes sense to the people. So for me, people come first and then use machine to enhance.
I love that. And I think this is a really great place to like wrap up the conversation, because you used the word chasing a couple of times in different parts of your conversation here today, Nonso. And this is a thing for me that I find, especially in a day and age where there's always something new, right? And there's a technological advancement around the corner as we speak that we don't know about. And there is an opportunity to chase with that. So like, this is hot here, this is hot here, this is chase. There's also the opportunity to lead. And so for me, a lot of crazy, stupid activities come from chasing. And the more often we can spend our human brain focus in the marketing conversation concerned about leading, how we are going to lead, how we are going to connect, how we are going to do the human things that today the computers can't do for us. And I do believe like we're at a point in marketing where we're not going back. We're not going back to where AI didn't exist, right? Like that's not going to be a thing. We are going to move forward with this. But how can we keep, I'm going to go around the table and everybody can give their 2 cents on what does it look like to lead instead of chase in this new age, next gen marketing arena we're playing in. So Trista, I'll go around the way that we started going around. What are your thoughts on how we keep ourselves in the leading category instead of the chasing category?
Yeah, I think it's always something that's going to have a bit of struggle, right? Like it's not something that's always necessarily going to be like the easiest route or the easiest path. When I think of like that idea of leading, how do you be ahead? It comes down to like a mindset. Like how can you be different? How can you stand out from that noise? And when you can kind of figure out what that secret sauce is for you that is different, like that's where kind of that magic happens. So I would think it's just figuring out, once again, how do you show up as authentically you? How do you be different so you can like stand out from that noise? But once again, I think that's something that's easier said than done, right? I know that's kind of a very like broad answer, right? Like it's just 2 words. Be different.
Okay.
But go ahead.
No, sorry, I was happy with the be different. Sorry.
Be different. Thumbs up for be different.
Yeah.
How about you, Mano? What are your thoughts? Or you can run with the be different angle or add new thoughts.
I guess mine kind of goes off of that as well. I think in the age of AI going into more, because obviously it's only going to grow from here on out, I think as a foundation, you need to start with creativity. The thing with AI is it inherently cannot be creative because it is trained on data, right? You put data in, it takes that data and it pushes it back out to you, right? And that's how it works. And so in the future, I think the more creative you are and the more creatively you can solve an issue, you will get ahead, because even if you ask AI to solve an issue for you, it will give you what has been done before, what it knows it has been done in the past. But if you want a creative solution that's going to take you over the top, right? Like for example, Apple, right? When Apple didn't have AI when they started, but some of their marketing tactics is what got them to where they are today because they were different, right? They were different, and AI cannot give you something that is different unless the human behind it is giving it outputs that are from the human themselves. And so I think it's always going to be human led. It just depends on the creative capacity of that person. It's really emphasizing being as creative as you can and using AI as more of an executor and yourself as the idea generator. And I know a lot of people have started using AI as a crutch, which is the term I like to call AI brain, because then you start to rely on AI instead of relying on yourself and then using AI to help you execute faster.
Well, I'm all about relying on yourself. So if you happen to be watching this show and you feel like you need a way to do that better, then we should have a conversation. But that's not what this show is here for. Nonso, how about you? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be feeding off what Tristan and Mano have actually said. Authenticity is like the key at the end of the day. For me, the thing I've always used to guide myself is let your tribe gather, because I feel like if you're chasing trends, for example, trying to jump on trends or trying to do what everybody else is doing, you're always going to be late. You're always going to be late to trends. And I feel like once a trend is already popular and you jump on it, you're definitely already late. So the best way to actually lead is to build basically that your community and let your tribe gather. So it means that first of all, identify exactly what I want to be known for and then stay on that path. It's actually hard. That's where like consistency comes in as well. It's actually hard. You have to do that for a while before you get to a point where like your tribe begins to gather, people begin to see you. I always treat it like discovering a new artist, for example. You know how it feels when you find this guy for the first time and you like his music, you're just listening to him, you feel very personally connected. And when that person begins to blow up, you're beginning to feel like, yeah, these guys are just finding out about this guy. I've known him for a long time. Treat your brand like it's an artist, like it's a talent, where you're like just authentically showing up, telling the story you want to tell, and then your community will start to catch on small, and before you know, you're like leading the pack. You've built a community, but it takes time and it takes consistency. That is what I believe, but nobody has time for that in these days, so we have to find ways to show up. Yeah.
Oh, we could do a whole different episode on what we don't have time. And in fact, we probably should do an episode on that. But Amber, let's wrap it up with your thoughts.
Yeah, it's very great. First, just be creative and also be different. And also, I have thought about like change is also finding like how people are, like the internal problem pinpoints are. Like, because I've been working with a lot of like e-commerce brands, I have to understand how people are thinking, how they feel, and I realize if we want to leading a chain or leading a viral topic, is understand what's like more emotional, because AI already replace us, or like be a master, like extra master brain for us to be. Sometimes they can create, and I believe in later future they will create more creativity work for us. So as a human, if we want to lead in that, is more focusing on the emotional and how like people like they really pain, they struggle, and how they feel. Like that's gonna be like a huge part.
And these are the things, I mean, again, AI is not going anywhere, right? But what if we could bring the things that humans are innately good at and let the humans do that, right? And have the things that AI is innately good at and let the AI do that. What could that look like? And I think this is the big opportunity for, marketers of my generation moving forward, the next generation of marketers, and even the next generation of marketers that are going to come after us, is that how can we optimize those roles? Similarly to what we did with computers, right? Our generations didn't have to do that with computers. The previous generations had to figure out, like, how does the computer play into how we do business and how we do marketing and all those things. We got to grow up with that. And now the next challenge for us is things like AI and whatever next technological advancement comes out of that. But this is the role we get to play as marketers. We get to be the humans. We get to lead with our unique capabilities to understand even what authenticity is, to bring emotion into the equation, to bring creativity, to be ourselves. And as Trista mentioned, that is easier said than done. There's actually a lot of peeling away of layers that needs to exist before we can truly be ourselves. But it is also, to Nanso's point, if you're letting your tribe gather, your tribe is people who hopefully feels easiest to be yourself around. And so whether that is your employees, your internal team, and I mean, ideally it would start there, but this also includes your potential clients and your current clients, right? These are your tribe. So how do we go together with them into the future? And I think if we can spend more of our time having those types of conversations and less of our time chasing the next new thing. Not saying we shouldn't know what they are, but make it a little bit even simpler. What percentage of your day as a marketer do you spend chasing versus leading? If you feel like you're chasing most of the time, there's probably an opportunity for you to lead more. And if you would like to do that, I would highly encourage you to connect with all of the people on this panel. These are the next generation leaders in marketing, and I am very excited to know them. I learned from them. Hopefully they still learn from my old fuddy-duddy brain that knows some stuff about marketing. But we get to participate in this together. Bring in the new energy, bring in the PSO. That was new to me today, to be honest with you. That I'm excited to learn about that. This is what we can do when we participate in community and in conversation together. So I want to just thank you, Trista, Mano, Nazo, Amber, for being part of the conversation today. We didn't have anybody actively participating in the chats, but I saw people there. So if this is something, if you're a next gen marketer or you are a current gen marketer who wants to actively participate with the next gen of marketers, stay in the conversation, connect with these amazing people. You will not be disappointed. And yeah, just stay in the conversation. Don't let this be the last time you're talking about how to lead in marketing, because that would be sad if that was the case. With that, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm impressed how my concussion brain held it together. So good job, Tracy's brain. Thank you for all of you sharing your wonderful insights with us today. And until next time, permission to do to you. Bye, everybody.